Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 4 of the USS Enterprise B. In this part I'm going to be joining the hull to the saucer section and getting the whole model onto the base. If you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the other parts of this build. But for now, let's jump into it. So to begin with, before I do anything, I have to join the wires together. Now on the saucer section there's quite a lot of runoff on the wire there, so I have to trim that. So I'm just marking up to give me a little bit of slack, but not too much. So just snipping the wires and then cutting the sheath off to expose the actual bare metal. Again, just be careful when you're doing this. You don't want to cut your finger, but just throw your hobby knife around and just pull off the wire. Make sure you got a hold of the other wire and you're not going to be pulling it off the model. So same again on the other side. Just make sure you got the positive and neutral married up. As you see, there's a bit of paint on the wire there, so it's always worth just doing a little test to make sure that you're connecting the right sides together. The last thing you want is to connect it all, then find out it doesn't work because you've connected the wrong sides. So next, once you've done that, is to take the wire and just twist it together from the hull and the saucer section. Make sure you've got a good tight connection here. So just twist both. You also want to make sure when you're twisting it that you have got room to work with for the next part. So when you're measuring them up, just make sure you've got enough room. So once that's done, it's time to put a little bit of solder in, just to make sure these connections stay put. So just take your solder iron and your solder and just put a little bit along the strip of it, and do that for both. If you do put too much on, don't worry so much. You can just take it off with heating it up again, or you can just see whether you can live with it inside, as long as it's not going to impede putting the saucer section on. That's the main thing. So once you've done that, it's a good idea to do a light test to make sure everything is on. So just connecting the terminal points here, and as you can see, everything is working fine. And once you're happy with the connection, just put a little bit of masking tape on around the bare wires. Again, I'm using masking tape instead of a sheath because it's more flexible in this small space. So just make sure that none of the solder or wire is touching or showing. Then once that's done, it's time to glue. So again, I'm using Rebel contrast cement here, just putting a bead along the neck of the model, and it gets a bit tricky here because you've got the wires in. You really don't want the glue to be touching the wires because it can melt the plastic of the wire, so just be careful with that. And also remember a little tip about the super glue that I used on the workman cells. Put a little bit of glue on, super glue around. I'm doing it on the saucer section here, so I'm just putting again a bead around, and this will just help it stabilize, so you're not having to put it under any heavy clamps and to hold it in position, because it sits quite comparative off center. Well, not off center, right? The contact point's not huge for the saucer section like any of these enterprise models, so it's a good idea that you do this just to make sure that you're not going to get any movement. Now, tuck your wire in as you're going along doing this, because I cut mine to length. They just sort of laid flat. So once they were in, it was time to put my clamp on. Wasn't really necessary, but I done it just to give my hand a little break, but I would recommend just holding it really. As you can see, I was having problems placing the clamp on. you know, but I did get the clamp on eventually, but holding it is probably the best way to go. And once it's semi-set, just lay it aside and let it dry naturally. Next is the base. Now because the wires are coming into this base, I'm just taking my pin drive and making a small hole in the bottom of the housing that takes on the metal rod. So I'm just putting a little bit of hole in, and then taking my hobby knife and twisting it around to increase the size of the hole. And you want to do this to the circumference of whatever rod you're putting in to hold your model. So I'm putting in a rod that's almost perfect to the housing, so the hole's got to be pretty much to the wall of the housing. You can just about make it out there. Now depending on how you're going to display this is depending on what you do on your next step. I'm going to be having the wires running out of this because eventually all the enterprises will be displayed in one go and all connected up to one main power unit. So I'm not putting any switches in at this stage. I'm a long way from doing that, getting them all together. But you know, when you see me building them, you'll see that I'm leaving all like this. So it's the same with the housing for the rod. I'm just putting in a little hole, then taking my hobby knife and twisting it around. But this time I'm checking with the wire to make sure it goes through. Because there's no point, you don't want a big huge hole and it leaves a massive gap. You just want enough for the wire to sit through. And then once you're happy with that, take your metal rod. Now this is a metal tube. The kit comes with a solid rod, so you will have to replace that if you're displaying it the way I am. So I'm just feeding the wire through into the metal rod, then putting in the wires. It's better to put the wires in first, like I'm doing there, instead of putting them in the rod and trying to feed it all the way down. And once you're happy with that positioning, just a little bit of super glue inside will hold it together. Same with the top, and just gently slide it down and bring out your wires there, so you can see how it's going to sit in the model. So once I was happy with the dry fit, again it was taking it all off, then repeating the process. So the rod goes back in again, as you can see there, just pulling the wires through. Make sure you don't pull too hard, you don't want to pull them out of the connection points inside. And put a little bit of super glue inside the hole. You've got to be quick here. You don't want it to be setting before you get the rod in, and then just push your rod in. Now remember, inside there's a little gap between the hull and the next part, which makes the rod sit in there nice and flush and perfectly. So it's the same again with the base. I'm taking the wires, just make sure you have enough and they're not twisted, and then just feed them through into your base like so, then marry it up to where you're going to put it. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just putting the super glue on the underside. It will siphon through down the hole. Again, be quick because you don't want it to set. And once you're happy, just place it in. Now the wires are almost set in position, so again, be quick as you can if you're using super glue, and just take the wires and feed them through the other hole. Well, this brings this part to an end. It's a short video for this part, just putting the model together. The next part will be showing you how I've done all the decals, even though you can see them on the model at the moment. The other part is going through all the decals. So I made this video slightly differently. So thank you all for watching. Make sure you check out all my other videos. But for now, bye bye.